Still wouldn't shut up.
Is your throat cut?
Oh my God.
Mike's in the bag picking teeth from his skull and playing with his tongue. He's all sick and everything.
Criminal interrogations have one purpose, and one purpose alone: to get people to confess. It's not always the case though, as sometimes some of the suspects may ask for their lawyers, ending the interview, or the interrogators simply can't get the truth out of them. But there are, on the other hand, infamous cases in which the detectives were actually able to make them confess their crimes, and it was all captured on camera. Starting off with the confession of Steven Sanderson, who was imprisoned for life without parole for the murder of his girlfriend in Wayne County. Sanderson confesses to the brutal murder of his prison cellmate Theodore Dyer, who is serving time for child molestation.
I guess he decided to clear his conscience or something, but, he told me what he was in prison for, that he had, was accused of raping an 11-year-old girl, and he got 25 to life for it, and, I told him that's enough, I don't want to hear any more. I first, punched him a couple times. Still wouldn't shut up. Still kept telling me he wanted to explain that he didn't do it, that he was being set up and all this stuff, and I don't know, I just got mad and then hit him and then I killed him. When I hit him and knocked him out, and then I took the shoelaces out of his shoes, tied them together, wrapped it around his neck, and strangled him. Then after I was done, I was aware of what I was doing, and then I just put him on his bed and covered him up and climbed in my bed and went to sleep.
Sanderson is not intimidated by his cellmate threatening him and confesses how he casually sat back after hitting Dyer a couple of times.
I hit him a couple of times and I pulled the chair back and sat in the chair, and then he kind of got up posturing on me. That's kind of like means, he got up like, So I was like, okay, and then I caught him again, and when he went down, I was like, yeah, sucks to be you.
During his sentencing for the same, Sanderson admits to feeling no remorse for killing Dyer. He believes he's playing God's advocate and setting up appointments with God by committing murders.
I don't know, I've been getting these emails saying that, it's not my position to judge anybody. And I want to make it quite clear that I didn't judge him. I know God is the only judge we have. I've just set the appointment up. So I don't feel bad for what I did, I feel bad for maybe his family or something. But as far as remorse towards him, no.
But despite having killed a person who deserved it or not, Sanderson was upfront and didn't hesitate to tell the truth, in great contrast to this 15-year-old killer. Alyssa Bustamante, a 15-year-old girl accused of murdering her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olton. Elizabeth had gone to Alyssa's house on the morning of October 21, 2009 to play games together, but little did she know it was going to be the last time she would ever be seen alive.
And walk me through exactly what happened.
When I went for a walk around 4:35, something like that, and I was just walking around in the forest for a while, and I was supposed to take my little sister with me, but I ditched her because she's annoying.
Okay.
And I was just walking around in the forest, and then for about an hour, I came back around 5:36ish, and I went up in my room, and I heard Emma yelling, so I went outside, and she was down in the ditch area. She was stuck in thorn bushes, so I went down there, and I helped her out.
The next day, Elizabeth's parents, worried for the whereabouts of their little girl, desperately called the police, and a search began. Sadly for them, she was finally found in a hole dug near Alyssa's house with multiple stabs all over her body.
Have you ever dug a hole like that before?
I have.
Where at?
I've buried animals. They're up behind the house. There's a little hill that goes up, and there's trees, and there's a little grave-ish site. We dug holes for dead cats.
Okay.
To the shock of her grandmother and the detectives that were in the room with her, as the interrogation went on, they began to realize that this wasn't a normal 15-year-old girl, but rather a murderous criminal and a psychopath.
We need to know the truth, because at the end of the autopsy, they will know exactly how she died. So we need to know now the full truth, full disclosure right now, so it doesn't come out later that, well, Alyssa wasn't telling the full truth again. We need to have it all come out now. How did she kill her?
She died.
How did she die? 9-year-old girls don't just die.
Then, after 2 hours and 34 minutes of an unprecedented interrogation, the detectives and the grandmother were shocked to find out not only that Alyssa had killed poor 9-year-old Elizabeth, but how.
We were messing her out. And she fell back and hit her head.
Was her throat cut?
Yeah. Oh.
Grandma?
Oh my god.
She wished her mom leave. I'm not going to ask any questions right now until we get.
You can be honest if you can tell us what happened. Even if you aren't protecting people you feel obligated to protect, we at least know we can help you, okay? So he's gonna walk out, and like he said, he can't come back and talk, but don't you want to have told him the truth right from the beginning? This is your opportunity. It's your opportunity.
Okay. I slit her throat. I strangled her.
Strangled her?
Mm-hmm.
You strangled her with your hands?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a knife on you?
Yes.
Did you cut her throat at any time?
Yes.
Cut her throat afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you strangled her first until she was unconscious, dead, and then you slit her throat.
Mm-hmm.
And did you stab her then?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do anything else to her?
No.
Okay. And then what happened after that?
I went up. Buried her body.
You buried her?
Yes.
Body still out there?
I think so.
You didn't burn her, did you?
No.
Yeah, I knew you did. Still out there at the same spot?
I believe so.
Okay. Tell me about that hole that you did dig. The hole that I saw that you pointed out. What was that about? How deep did you dig the grave that she's in?
It's not that deep.
Okay. Will you be able to point out on a map or take us to where she's at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You didn't burn her, did you?
No.
Did you bring a shovel with you?
No.
How did you dig the hole?
It was. I had already dug it.
Okay. When did you dig that hole?
That one was also on Friday.
Okay. So you dug the hole on Friday and had it all ready. Did you leave the shovel out there?
No.
Okay. So the hole was already dug on Friday, and then you brought her out there Wednesday. Killed her there on Wednesday, strangled her, then cut her throat, stabbed her twice, put her in the hole, and then how'd you fill the dirt in?
With my hands?
With your hands. Did you do anything else to her body?
No.
Did anyone help you?
No.
Alyssa Bustamante ended up being a thrill killer diagnosed with several mental disorders and is now serving lifetime in prison for the murder of Elizabeth. Despite this case being horrific, it doesn't stop here. Mothers strive to take care of their kids and protect them from any harm, is what we would all assume, but not all mothers. Brittany Gosney's case is one of the most disgusting ones to have ever been caught on camera. A mother who tried to abandon her kids, but things had gone horribly wrong. Gosney was persuaded by her boyfriend, James Hamilton, to abandon her young children, following which she drops them off at a park and drives off.
Okay, tell me what happened.
James told me to get rid of the kids.
Okay.
And so I took them for a drive to make them think I'm going to get rid of them, but I'm not going to get rid of my kids for anybody on this planet. And he told me to get rid of them because they were not listening. He was tired of putting up with it. And I kept telling him, like, I'm not going to get rid of my kids. Like, I can take them, give you a break, and for me and them for a little while, take them for a drive, whatever, but I'm not getting rid of them. They're my kids. I will not do that.
Okay.
And I said, if I wanted to do that, I would have gave them up a long time ago. But he kept telling me, either get these kids under control or get rid of them or do something with them. So I tried asking family members to...
So what happened last night? Let's fast forward to that.
We went for a drive. I don't know what road it was.
Okay.
We were just driving around.
What Gosney is making reference to here is the sad and horrible event in which she drove off and her youngest kid, James, tried to run after her in her van, got caught, and was dragged under the wheel, dying on the spot. Her other 2 children had been in a mess, crying until Gosney came back to find the children huddled over her dead son's body.
So James went to go get in the van. James didn't want to get out of the van.
Right.
I'm talking about the kid.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get out of the van. And he was forcing me, like, you gotta get rid of these fucking kids, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, dude, why should I have to get rid of my kids? Why can't you just go?
Sure. So he wouldn't get out of the van, and what happened?
And I told him, because he had to use the bathroom too, told him I wasn't going to leave him. Well, I was thinking about leaving him, so I kind of like pulled off a little bit, and James fell kind of down on his knees, got back, went to go get back up, and then just dropped.
Did you hit him with the van then?
No, I didn't hit him with no van.
Okay.
I didn't run him over. I didn't do none of that.
Okay. So he hits the van.
He had the van's door slides open. So he had a handle of the van.
So the door is open?
No, they slide back.
Right.
It's a minivan.
Right.
They slide back. He had the handle of the van, the back door van, on the driver's side. And when I went to go kind of pull off, he didn't have the handle in his hand. It was kind of just like standing there. Not close to the van, but just kind of standing there, holding the van door, trying to get back in. Well, that door is messed up.
Right.
And I don't want to unlock it, don't want to lock. So, I went to go pull off, and James, as I was saying, he fell, tried to get back up, and he fell and hit his head on the ground.
And you were in the parking lot there?
Yes.
If we took you up that way, could you show us where?
Where he was at?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a little, not a big glob of blood, but there's like this much blood, or maybe might be even more, where his head had hit the concrete. And I rolled him over, kind of try to help him back, see if I can get him to come back. Well,
did you know he was dead pretty soon though?
At first, he was still breathing. Like I said, he took a couple, like...
Where was he bleeding from?
Right here on his head, like he went to fall down.
Was he breathing out of his ears or his mouth? And if you don't remember...
He didn't have his mouth open.
Okay.
I know he had his eyes kind of like... You know how you kind of like sleep with your eyes open, like a tiny bit?
Right.
That's how he had his eyes.
Okay.
So he was like responding, but I guess couldn't talk.
Sure.
But he was breathing heavy. I don't know how many. I couldn't tell you how many breathing fast he was. But when I was with him, he was breathing still, and I was doing my CPR that I learned how to do and try to bring him back. And I couldn't. So I did it for like 5 minutes, and I knew after 5 minutes there was no getting him back.
So what did you do then?
I drove home.
You picked him up, put him in the van?
Yes.
Okay.
He thought I just threw.
Right.
I can't do that to my kid.
Sure.
I don't want to just throw them in there.
Ghazni refers to her sons as the kids. She drives them back home after dropping the kids at the park, despite saying she would pick them up soon. She returns to the scene of the crime to find young James dead.
I'm still confused.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So you put your son back in the van. You drove where?
Back home.
Back home. What did the other two children, what were they saying or thinking?
They were just kind of like shook up. They didn't.
Okay.
Where were they at whenever little James fell?
One was coming out the bathroom, and one was just standing there. My daughter was the one just standing there, and she said, "Mommy, you didn't run him over," because I was scared. Like, please don't tell me I ran him over, because I would have really, 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 really felt bad.
But at that point, whenever you got standing out there, is coming out of the bathroom.
No, was standing out there. Was coming out the
Is
bathroom.
coming out of the bathroom, and then you've got little James over
Yeah,
here.
and the door was open.
But you drove away.
No, I was sitting at the porta potter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went to go drive off.
So you
because he told me to make them seem like you're leaving them.
Ghazni and her boyfriend later dumped the child's body in a river. She confessed to the crime of killing her son and abandoning her other two children, and was sentenced to 21 years to life in prison. The body of little James is yet to be found. Not every case falls into the category of gruesome, but also in the category of embarrassing. In this next one, we have a female police officer confessing to having sexual relations with a male inmate prisoner.
Yeah, I mean, you felt me. I was like soaking through my clothes.
You're like what is that word? Like when somebody just always like can get horny like at that? I can feel it.
Yeah, I get very horny very easy. Like I always want to have sex. Like,
Correctional Officer Charlene O'Banion knew all the blind spots in the security system. She had abused her power and had physical relations with inmate Jacob Parker, who was arrested for the unlawful possession of a weapon. In the following footage, we will see one of the most embarrassing and hard to watch confessions ever, as all the proof, which include audios and messages, will be played in front of Charlene and the detectives. Having to listen to your own voice while playing cutesy with the prisoner is bad, but having to listen to your own voice playing cutesy with the prisoner while two detectives listen along is worse.
I mean, you're stuck with me regardless, but
Oh,
I
okay.
want you to like just. I just want you to look at me sometimes and be like, "Damn, my woman's fine."
Fine as wine.
Mm-hmm.
Super fine.
Super.
Super.
Oh God.
You are fine, baby.
Hmm.
You are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And you got a live ass fucking head game. Oh my god.
It wasn't my best moments. I was just trying to get it done.
Meh, meh. Are you in bed?
Don't even get me thinking about that because it makes me so horny. Like just going back and thinking about
Charlene finally admitted to her crime on tape. As embarrassing as it might have been, she had to recount the explicit details of her sexual contact with the inmate, Jacob, the detectives even asking her to describe what a blowjob is.
This is your one chance to be honest with us.
Yes.
Once we get up and walk out and we're done, we're done.
Yeah.
And honesty is the only thing that's going to help you with us.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice to you right now is to be honest with us. Have y'all had any inappropriate contact, whether it's groping, blowjobs, vaginal, anal sex, anything, hand jobs? Yes, I am being vulgar to get a point across.
Yeah, no, it's not. None of that.
Then what is it?
I might have given him a blowjob in the back part of the
In the back part of the quad? Okay. How long ago was that?
a few months ago.
A few months ago? How long have you worked here?
Since April.
Since April this year?
Mhm.
Was he already here?
He was right here.
Okay. Do you know how long he's been here? Don't know. Okay.
Not at the top of my head.
So you did, a few months ago, you gave him a blowjob in the back of B. Is that correct? And that's B quad, correct? Were there any other witnesses to it? Okay.
No.
I'm just wondering because
Like people standing around while I'm.
Well, you worked days, right?
Yes.
Were you working days at the time? That's why I'm asking. Was anyone around? Because I mean, everybody's up in daytime.
Right.
It's not like the jail's locked down.
Can you kind of go into detail of exactly like what and how it happened?
Yeah, he was going to push cleanup into 1516, and I needed to roll the doors open, so you can go in. So I had the key to unlock, that little picket area so that you can roll.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking back there, and he leaned in to kiss me, and he just whipped it out.
And then I know this is stupid, but it's just the way things work. What do you mean by blowjob?
I put his dick in my mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did he ejaculate?
No.
Okay. And is there anything you want to add or anything?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Anything?
Has anything else happened?
No, we haven't had sex in the facility. He hasn't gone under my pants. It was just that.
Have you brought him anything in?
No, never.
Charlene was sentenced to 100 days in prison for improper sexual activity with an inmate in jail. And that one was the only one that will make you feel embarrassed, because these next ones are really the complete opposite. Seth Jackson, a 15-year-old, had a happy life, up until he made the mistake of getting together with his girlfriend, Amber Wright, 15. Amber is speculated to have been cheating on Seth with Mike Bargo, 18. Eventually, Seth and Amber break up, and Amber makes her relationship with Mike public. Mike, a drug addict, dislikes Seth and had been talking of killing him. Amber, Mike, and their other friends, Charlie Eli, 18, Justin Soto, 20, and Kyle Hooper, 16, plan to jump Seth and help Mike act on his words of killing him. On the 17th of April, Seth had gone to meet up with Amber on the pretense they were going to clear things out. This would be the last anyone ever saw of him. The next morning, Seth was reported missing by his mother when he did not show up after meeting with his friends.
Okay, Sunday night, Sunday night, Amber and I walked up because her ex-boyfriend was Seth, and they wanted to work things out, so we met him up.
This is Sunday night?
Yes, sir. At 58th Court, it was approximately 9:30.
So you met him on the corner?
Yeah,
Okay.
they talked.
What corner did you guys meet him on?
I think it's 58th Court. I want to say that's what it is.
And who all met there?
Me, Amber, and Seth.
Okay, I just need you to tell me the story, and let's start with the other night. I understand that you and Charlie went to another neighborhood or went down the street. Tell me how this all comes about.
Well, me and him were already talking on the phone.
Me and him.
Seth.
Okay, you and Seth. Did Seth call you or did you call Seth?
Well, he had called me a couple days before that and I didn't answer.
Okay.
So I called him that night.
And you and Seth, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? You two had a relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Was he, how was your relationship with him?
Not the best.
Tell me why you say not the best.
We'd always fight. He'd always hit me and cheat on me and all that.
So he was physically abusive to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Amber confesses to how she and her friends had it all planned out to jump Seth once he showed up to meet her.
So Seth had called you a few days before.
Mm-hmm.
You called him back, and what day was that?
I think it was Sunday night.
Sunday night?
It was the night that this all happened.
Okay, so you called Seth, and what did Seth say?
Well, it started off, I was like, hey, I know you called me the other day and I didn't answer, but you wanted to make up. So do you want to make up or like try and be friends or something, because I'm sorry for everything. And he was like, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea for the both of us because we're both tired of fighting with each other. But we just wanted to stop the drama.
Okay. So were you guys going to get back together as a couple?
No, we were just going to try and be friends.
Okay.
Because we were friends before we were dated.
Okay.
We were really close.
Okay.
And he was like, well, you should walk down here. And I was like, well, if I walk down there, I'm not walking alone because it's too dark, so can my friend Charlie come?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, sure, I guess.
Where was Seth at when he said walk down here?
The neighborhood at the end of my road, Bellevue Ridge Estates.
Okay, so Seth was at Bellevue Ridge. Whose house was he at down there?
He said something about Brittany.
Kyle had confessed to his mother about Seth's whereabouts, following which she had contacted the police. Detectives questioned the suspects at the same time, in different rooms, and the killers, under pressure, isolated, and with their incredible expertise to make them confess to their parts in helping Mike kill Seth.
Both your kids are in a thing for murder.
Number 2?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, we told you it wasn't a storm. I mean, it was like, he drops me off. Alright, well, we got this kid that comes over. His name's Brandon. He plays the guitar.
Brandon?
Yeah, his name's Brandon. He plays the guitar. He's got long hair. He's in a band and stuff like that.
That comes over to Charlie's house?
Yeah, you know, he plays guitar, and well, he was out there playing the guitar and stuff like that out in the front yard and everything. And then Mike, he was like getting all into it. He went in the house. I guess he was snorting some pills or whatever. And he was.
What kind of pills were Mike snorting?
I'm not sure. They were white pills.
Where'd he get them?
There's no telling where he gets any of this stuff. I don't know. He don't tell me nothing about stuff like that, honestly.
Okay. So he's snorting some pills and so on?
And he, you know, he's getting all wired up, hyped up and everything. And somebody brought up the name Seth, and he's like, man, I want to go on a killing spree tonight. He's like, I just want to. And he's like, you guys down? And I told him no. I told him I don't.
When he said you guys down, who's he talking to?
Like,
you and him?
Me, Amber, Charlie, Roach. Okay.
Who's Roach now?
The guy Justin Soto.
Oh, okay, so Soto was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was he talking about killing people? Was he talking about killing Seth?
Pretty much, because he was like, man, because he's like, all you gotta do is find him and get him on the way down here and everything like that. And he didn't want Amber to call him off of the phone or text him. He didn't want nothing to have her or Charlie to have nothing to do with it. Amber decided and she agreed to it.
Your brother told me everything.
Okay.
So you can sit there and you can continue to lie on me and walk out and treat you like a piece of garbage.
Okay.
Or you can sit here and treat me with the respect that I treated you with. Okay? And you can tell me the truth.
Yes,
What's your choice going to be?
I'm going to tell the truth.
Okay. Speak up so I can hear you too. Okay?
Alright.
So let's start at the beginning again. And you tell me this story. And the first time that I think you're lying, I'm getting up and walking out of here and I don't care what happens to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
James and Brandon both left. After, like, Brandon was playing guitar and everything, they both left. And Mike was, like, talking to Charlie and Kyle and me. And he was like, you should call Seth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, for what? He was like, act like you're going to make up with him. And I was like, for what, Mike? He's like, because I'm going to kill him.
Kyle and the others try to pin all the blame on Mike, but does not realize he and his friends are as much of an accessory to murder as Mike.
He hated Seth. And there was time, because my ex-girlfriend, I found him in the bed with my ex-girlfriend, and I really didn't like that, and I loved her. But I really didn't want to go out and kill the kid. It wasn't my intention. And he come, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike was talking about it. He's like, listen, he's like, I'll do it. And believe it or not, Amber wanted it done. Amber don't want nothing to do with him. Amber wanted him dead and gone. He deserved it. I wanted him dead, but I didn't want to do it. And I didn't want nothing to be a part of it. I didn't want nothing.
And Mike said he would do it.
But Mike said he would do it.
So you talked to Mike
he kept
about
on
it.
saying, man, I'll take the blame for it. I'll take the blame for everything. I'll do it. I'll do everything. I'll take the blame. If the cops ask you if anything, I'll take the blame. I have nothing to lose. It's whatever. And Amber agreed to it. Everybody was agreeing to it.
So did Soto agree?
Huh?
Soto? Roach?
Everybody agreed.
He
Like I
agreed?
said, everybody agreed.
Amber agreed?
Mm-hmm. And Jay,
Charlie agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Mike said he would do it, and you agreed. So there's 5 people.
And Mike's like, man, I can't do this. It's got to be done now. He's like, wait, Mickey, he's sitting in the love seat. He's like, it's got to be done now. Mike opened the door. I come out. I hit him over the stick, the head.
Where was Seth when you hit him?
He was in the chair.
Okay.
And I hit him over the head with the stick, and it broke 3 times on him.
Kyle describes how he had hit Seif without showing any remorse about it.
I hit him, and he stood up. And when I broke it over his head 3 times, he stood up. And then Roach come in, and then he hit him with his stick, and then he was trying to go through the kitchen, and Mike shot him in the back twice with a gun.
Kyle hit Seth with the thing, and I flew against the counter, and I looked.
Roach hit him with a stick too?
Yeah. I didn't look at it. I was in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And all I seen was Seth fly, and then Kyle and Roach flew, and Mike flew right behind him. And Charlie was like, come to the room, come to the room, come to the room. When Kyle hit him over the head, that's when we ran into the room because we didn't know where Mike was. Like, we thought he was in his room, and obviously that's where he was. But, like, we didn't know where he was with the gun.
Okay.
And then he was still trying to go out the front door, and Mike just kept on shooting him. I kept on telling Mike, I was like, stop it, let him go. And he just kept on shooting him. And he goes out the house.
I just got out of the way and like pumped his ass.
And Roach grabs him like this and Seth on the ground and has him choked. And I don't know what he did to his knee, but he kind of messed up his knee, and Roach rolled over.
Who messed up his knee?
Roach,
Okay.
Soto. And he rolled over, and Mike come up and shot him in the head, and that's when it was over.
Mike shoots him. How many times?
It's like 5 times maybe, I guess.
Right there on the spot?
And oh my God, man. And comes back into, and then I was like, Mike's like, man, grab him, you gotta grab him, Kyle. We can't have nobody, we gotta grab him. And I was scared, I was freaking out, and I'm like, okay. And I grabbed him, and I pulled him up the stairs, and
Grabbed who?
Seth. I started pulling him up the stairs.
Was Seth still alive?
Partially, yeah.
Okay, so he was still breathing at that time.
He was partially still alive.
I walked in the room with her. I was so shooken up. I'm staring at her. I'm crying. She's trying to hold me to stop crying. I'm about to puke from it all. And then they got him in the house and laid him on the floor.
And then they put him in the bath. And then
Who put him in the bathtub?
Roach come in, and he helped put him in the bathtub.
Did you help put Seth in the bathtub?
Yeah, I like grabbed a little piece of him and like just put him in there, and then I just went out and
And then when he was in the bathtub, Mike kept on getting all psycho and pissed. He kept on punching him and shooting him, and I had to grab him like this to pull him back, and I told him to stop. I said, listen, you need to stop right now. And then I come in, and then Mike's wanting to break it. I come in, and Mike's trying to break his kneecaps to put
Is
him
he
in a
dead
hog
at this
tie.
point, or is he
Yeah,
still?
he's completely dead.
Who broke his legs and knees?
I think Mike did that.
And that's when Mike had his kneecap, had his leg pulled out like this with some in his hand, some hard, trying to break his kneecap.
How'd you get the scratch marks on your legs? Fighting with Seth?
No, I didn't. It's with still woods and stuff.
Finding firewood?
Huh?
Finding firewood?
Yeah,
To burn up, Seth?
I guess, yeah.
And then Mike was like, Roach, get him in the bathroom. And then Charlie was like, Amber, don't walk out there. Don't walk out there. We don't need to see it. That's when Mike walked in the room with his gun in his hand. And he was like, I love you both, but if you say anything, I'll kill you both.
They confess to watching Mike brutally taking apart Seth's body and burning it, throwing the rest of the remains in a lake.
Then he hog-tied him, and then he put him in the bag.
In what bag?
Like I said, that sleeping bag. We had these 2 tires. The tires, now the rubber was supposed to, I guess what Mike said was supposed to overdo the smell of the burnt body, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Where'd you get the tires?
The tires were already in the front yard. They come off of some car or something. And then I come out there, and then Roach was telling me something about the shovel. Like, I guess he hit him over the head with a shovel or something, because he was still, like, Mike's psycho. He's crazy.
You and Mike stayed out there and watched the body burn in the fire,
I
right?
stayed out there.
You stayed out there by yourself?
Yeah, most of the time.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you being honest about that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was your job to make sure the body burned?
Yeah. I just wanted it all to be over.
You know, we're just going around there. Mike's in the bag picking teeth from his skull and playing with his tongue. He's all sick and everything. He's putting them into them containers with paint and everything, the ashes and everything.
Who's helping him do that?
He was at that point. He was just doing everything by himself at that point, because everybody just said, "F it, we're done."
Where is Seth right now? Where is all of his body parts?
It's somewhere in Ocala.
Where?
Oh, well, it's some rock quarry thing or whatever.
Kyle's stepfather, James Haven, had aided in the disposing of Seth's body. Mike, who had been on the run, was eventually caught and arrested by the police while he was on his way to confess about the same. Amber, Charlie, Kyle, and Justin are convicted to life in prison, while James was sentenced to 30 years in prison for being an accessory to murder. Mike, being the killer, awaits his fate on death row. The next one that follows, sadly, doesn't get behind in how disturbing these cases are. The love shared between siblings is unique and sacred, but some of them are pure evil. 16-year-old Nicholas Starling had an affinity towards violent video games and music. He would soon come to lose his rage and take a drastic step towards murder. On Halloween of 2016, Harley Starling was murdered in his sleep by his older brother, Nick. Their grandmother, Jonah Pulliam, naively could not understand what led to her grandson's brutal death.
I left the room at the same time. Okay. I said, good night, I love you. He said, I love you. And I went in my room, he went in his room.
Okay. And then you heard Nick up a couple times throughout the night?
Yeah, I heard it squeak, the door.
The door squeak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if the cat wants out, he'll go jump on you.
Okay.
So I got my door shut. They can't jump on me. They can't wake me up. Okay. But they do wake up Nick.
Okay, so Nick will let them up?
Yeah, he'll let them out.
Okay. So then you saw him up, and then...
yeah, that's on the video.
And then you woke up again in the morning at 5?
At 5, I hollered at Nick, and he said, yeah. When I came out, and I asked Nick, and Nick was coming out of the bathroom, he said, yes, I'm going to get him up. And he walked over to the door, and he says, Grandma, the door's locked. Usually it's not locked, so...
Okay. So then what happened?
So then I went and got the key.
Okay.
And I unlocked the door.
Okay.
But nothing out of their routine seemed odd.
No, just to the fact the door was locked.
Right.
Okay.
And you said you noticed his window was open.
Yeah, Nicholas noticed his window was open.
Nicholas noticed.
He said his window was open. I said, was it open? I didn't notice.
Were his curtains closed or were they open?
They're automatically closed. They're just always closed. The people off behind us watching with binoculars and stuff, so I try to always keep curtains up. Because there was weird people.
Have you had problems with them in the past?
No, just they're peeping toms.
They're just weird.
If you got a curtain off, they're looking.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I have not been in your house, so I may ask some questions, and you're like, well, yeah,
Okay.
He's probably been the only one not in your house today.
Okay.
So you said you saw Nicholas on the monitor, so I'm assuming you have 2 different monitors?
No, I have one monitor. It has all 4 cameras on it.
Did you see what Nick was doing at all?
He just went to the door and opened the door. I thought it was my funky neighbor asking for money.
Really no easy way to go about this part. The autopsy, they're still working on it, actually, as we speak. Okay? Well, what we do know is that we're not investigating a homicide. Okay, he didn't hurt himself.
The injury that he's sustained could not have been self-inflicted.
What happened?
We're not
We're
entirely
not
sure
sure.
yet. We're still trying to piece everything together. Any reason to think that your boyfriend would do something like this?
No.
How about Nick?
I wouldn't believe that Nick would do it either.
The possibility.
I wouldn't think so.
Nick initially hesitates when the police ask him for his permission to search his room. He is then questioned about his choice of violent video games and music.
So I guess we're asking permission if we could go into your room. We're not looking for anything that may embarrass you, or that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for anything that would be connected to this. And if we don't see anything, then we wouldn't take anything. Okay? Is that okay? Okay. What would you be concerned about us going in and finding?
I haven't really trusted people that way.
I understand that. Do you have any guns or anything like that they need to be aware of?
Our grandma did give us a baseball bat in case anyone tried to break into it.
Sure. Well, I understand that. Other than that, anything? I mean, is there or something you're concerned about or anything like that?
But I just don't want you to be freaked out about the game I have Splat.
The game that has a lot of blood in it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is it okay if we check your room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people just find that type of game disturbing. Don't be disturbed by my background pictures either.
I'm not even going to look at it. Don't you even worry about it.
I did.
Okay.
Or my music.
Yeah, these officers were all if I need to take anything they find of evidentiary value. Okay, so that means that they find something specific that would be, would have been used in your brother's death or something like anything like that they'll find in there. What?
Just the badge.
Okay.
I know I forgot. The pants I wore for trick-or-treating.
Did the badge cause your brother's death?
No.
Okay, well then, why was
No.
Okay, okay.
Because I didn't hear anyone break my window to get it.
Okay, well that would make sense.
Nicholas finally admits to his crime, exhibiting a calm behavior as he narrates how he had killed his younger brother. His confession is one of the few that actually gives chills to the majority of people for all of its significance.
You did that to me. But why did you do it to me? Yes, you always did. I was treating you correct. I was pick something. How does he pick up? Possibly a statement of steps. Correct, he went by things a few times. I always get scared. So did you hit him in the head while he was sleeping? Did he know you were coming? He was asleep, or was he awake? And you just took that back and hit him over the head? Alright. Yes. How many times did you hit him in the head? Four there. I think I did 10. Okay. Did you stab him with something in the neck? Well, after I done, he started me. Were you trying to help him die faster so he would suffer? I'm trying to make him be quiet. You did a lot of walking around there after your mom or your grandmother went to bed. You guys were told to go to bed, even before you let the dogs out. You're doing a lot of walking around there. What were you doing? Were you thinking about doing something then? We just waiting for them to go to sleep? How did you plan on hurting them a little? What were you going to do? I was going to do
Nicholas Starling was sentenced to life for the murder of his younger brother, Harley Starling, whom he had beaten to death in a fit of rage. Next one we have is 40 years old Sean Great, a serial killer who had been hiding in plain sight until he was caught due to a 911 call from a woman whose identity remains protected under the code name Jane Doe.
What's the problem? I've been abducted. Who abducted you? John Green. You said John Green? Sean Great. Where's he at now? Asleep.
Where is he?
I don't sleeping.
Still sleeping?
Yeah. Okay, they have her. He's unarmed.
Unarmed?
Yeah.
The police rescued the woman and took Sean into custody. What follows are chilling confessions from Sean, who confessed to having killed several women before the abduction of Jane.
Her games trying to get down to if she's going to marry me or not.
So you just held her there because you wanted to find out if she was going to marry you?
A lot of questions and stuff, and yeah, it's very nightmare. Couldn't imagine her.
You just wanted to make sure she didn't get away because you wanted her?
No.
What? Explain.
Just wanted her to relax, spend some time with me.
Well, it's kind of hard for somebody to relax if you're tying them down, don't you think?
Yeah.
So how long was she tied down?
Not long.
How'd she get out? Or out from the ties?
I untied her. Except for like last night, I tied her legs down just a little bit.
So you've tied her down at least twice?
Yeah, just kind of like just to slow her down because she's moving around a lot. Like, just relax. I'm gonna take you home here.
Detective Mager gets Sean to open up and confess to the killing of 5 women: Elizabeth Griffith, Candace Cunningham, Stacy Stanley, Dana Lowry, and Rebecca Lacey, who had all been reported missing.
I was just showing her around that she insisted to look around, right?
Okay.
So I go upstairs. I show her upstairs, and she just kind of like, trying to put moves on me, which was weird because when talking to her, I didn't really feel that. I mean, you see
Yeah. Yeah. Did you end up having sex with her?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Didn't do nothing with her at all.
So when it came to the point that...
The struggle, her shirt did end up coming off.
Okay. How did it come off?
I was moving like choking her.
You were choking her?
Yeah.
Did you choke her from the front or choke her from behind?
Well, it just happened. I choked her. I just reached up and just choked her right. I asked her, "You sure this is what you want?" And I mean, because she thought about like killing herself. So I mean, I do that as jokes a lot of times, like even with friends, like guy friends, whatever. You know what I mean? They start talking about killing herself. Well, we wait on, joke around and see whatever, But now it's to the point, it's like, okay, let's see exactly how much they really do want to die. You know what I mean? So I'm a little feeling now, right?
Yeah.
She fought it, like, I was like, that's not what you want. And then she just started blowing up, like, she took it out of proportion. Like, I was just joking. Because of the wake up strangle. Okay. Strangle, like, you know what I mean? And she got all serious.
You panicked?
Mm-hmm.
then you just did it again?
Make another choice to slow, like, calm her down. I mean, she was just like, wow, moving around and stuff like that. So I was like, throw her on the bed and like.
So, did you strangle her again? Is that how she died, or is there another way?
That's the way she died.
That's the way?
Sean acts out how he strangles his victims to their death, looking excited to show his demonstration.
Sean's going to demonstrate the way he uses in strangulation in cases that we have been discussing.
Well, Elizabeth, right? It was kind of shocking, right? I was just joking. We were just joking, like how she wished she kind of would die. You know what I mean? I was like, so I'll help you. I'll just go like this. You know what I mean? Like
pushing forward and up at the same time.
Right. And she kind of just like whacked my hands and like started flipping out and stuff like that to the point where I had to just like grab her and I just would lean forward and just press. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right, that explains that with Elizabeth.
She'd fall down. And,
you just kind of go down with her?
Yeah, I laid her down and finished. And even after she stopped breathing, I held on till she messed her pants pretty much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I didn't release Candace.
Cunningham, right?
Candace was... She was... I tried to keep her calmed down a lot, and I didn't really mean to. I fought with her for like 3 days. A lot of it was mainly face to face. You know, just like, and I wouldn't have much pressure. I didn't even tie her up at all.
Okay.
Until I wrapped her up in the blanket. I kept her around for 3 days trying to get her. We even would walk around town every night after our big fights. And then we go to bed that third night, and it's almost like she just keeps egging it on.
Okay.
And
then she woke you up in the night when she smacked you in the face with that tobacco bag.
Yes.
Then what happened?
And then it's like, oh, this is... I'm like, oh, okay. So these past 3 days, I mean, you just want me to finish you, you know? And I grabbed her, and that's when I choked her. She passed out. Grabbed her from behind and passed out. I mean, I was irritable. I had enough. I just finished her. She was ready to call it a day, so I just asked her if she wanted to hang out. Go out to where I was staying and get money,
Okay.
which I lied. I mean, my attention, she's already irritated me.
Yeah.
Someone that I supposedly care about. Well, first we sat in the kitchen. There on the bar stools and just sit there for a minute. And I felt her bullshit, and I was just feeling raged.
Okay.
So I said, hey, come on in back here. Show you my ball cards. She did. I have all kinds of ball cards. Used to.
Like baseball cards collection?
Yeah, all sports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there she comes. It's like, oh, neat. So that's when I fronted her. So you gonna rip me off like you did my mom?
What did she say?
She said, who's your mom? I said, oh, so you do it a lot to people. You know what I mean? She tried to get past me. And I just ganked her up. Walked her back a little bit to the living room. Because everything was, all my stuff was in the bedroom. I didn't have nothing in the other rooms. That's when I choked her out right here. I believe it. Her nose was bleeding, there was some blood. Could have been from her lip. Right here. She peed her pants.
How did she die?
I strangled her. Oh, wait, no. I didn't. I strangled her first. And then I dragged her down to the basement after she passed out. Then I panicked. I ran upstairs. And I grabbed the knife. I stabbed her in the neck.
She's in your bedroom and you are face to face. She tries to get out of the bedroom. Tell us what happens from there.
I back her out. I turn her around. She comes towards me. I knock her hands around, knock her whole body around, and just grabbed her like she just was meant to be choked out.
Okay.
I mean, it fell right in my hand.
Okay.
I set her back, laid down, and I actually laid down with her. We was laying down, just side by side.
And is that upstairs or downstairs? At what point did you
Upstairs.
stab her in the neck? Was she still alive then or not alive?
She woke up
She woke up from the strangulation?
downstairs.
Downstairs.
She woke up downstairs.
So when you took her downstairs, did you take her down thinking she was dead?
No, because I knew before that was just a little temporary, like a pass out.
Okay.
They're dealing with friends and playing around pass out games.
So you went downstairs and then what happened? She woke up.
Yeah, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I ran upstairs, grabbed a knife in the kitchen. You know, it's the first thing I did when I went downstairs. Stabbed her in the neck. I didn't know what to do.
And you said the knife was a serrated knife or a straight blade knife?
I believe it was a straight knife. It was like a knife you cut onions with. Just trying to lodge her mouth a little bit. See, I was kind of curious. She was so stiff all of a sudden. She's stiff so fast. And I was just like,
Putting that in her mouth?
yeah, I was just trying to open her mouth a little bit. To be able to have more access for flies than eat her. I didn't want her to even try to get rid of the body. Like the smell. So I was trying to just like lodge her open a little bit. Rebecca Lacey.
Yes, sir.
I had problems with her once. I met her. She got violent with me. That's why I've been like angry and bitter about her.
You said you did something and she must have passed out from it. And at first.
Yeah, she tried to call 911. I grabbed the phone. That's after we were wrestling and stuff. She just crawled in a ball. I don't know what she was doing. She got on the phone. Help. You want to steal from me and all that, you know what I mean? I just snapped. I was like, boom, and then I grabbed her hair. Boom. I was asleep.
So when she died, what exactly were you doing to her when she died? How did you do it this time?
She was on her belly. And I was already exhausted. Just arming on her neck. And then I reached back to her, grabbed one of her legs, and just used that leverage. And just put her in this old plastic golf carrying bag. She barely fit. She fit in there. I ended up taking it just in case it propped open because of the daylight. The lawyer's office going on, the secretaries, and I pushed her out. And I remember it was snow on the ground. It was really hard. I just threw everybody just there.
Sean Great was finally sentenced to death for the murder of 5 women. In 2012, the Supreme Court of Ohio upheld his conviction and denied him a fair trial with no possibility of parole. It's of common sense that relationships can be fun, magical, and most of all, complicated. But this particular one led to the murder of an innocent person. It was 2015, and Ryan Zimmerman had gone missing until his bones were to be found 5 years later by a woman walking her dog. One of his 3 roommates, Sarah Buzzard, is called in for questioning as to explain why, where detectives uncover shocking and unprecedented events of what had happened.
Corey started talking to Ryan online. I didn't know about their conversations until around early April-ish, when he told me that he wanted Ryan to move in with us so that he could act on this philosophy. And we argued constantly for the entire month because I always felt like he needed this other person to make up for traits that I lacked, and that really, really hurt. And he was expecting me to, I don't know, not fall in love, but become infatuated with Ryan when I first met him, and everything would be perfect.
Sure.
So we argued because he was adamant about it. I did not want it to happen. He didn't like any of the compromises that I was trying to come up with. So finally, I came up with a compromise that I still didn't like, but it was the best I could do, which was Ryan would be allowed to stay in our spare bedroom.
Ryan wanted to explore his sexuality and began a 4-way relationship with his roommates, Corey, Sarah, and Naira Whitaker, a transgender woman. Little did he know, one of them was having murderous thoughts about him.
On the morning of the 26th, Naira started voicing some plan about killing him, and I did not take her seriously because she would make comments like that sometimes. Like if we were in the parking lot and we saw a woman waiting in her car, she would say something like, "Oh, I wonder what would happen if I just shot her in there," or, "Oh, I wonder what would happen if we drove this cyclist off the road," and things like that. She never acted on them, so I never took her seriously. So when she started saying things about killing Ryan, I didn't take her seriously.
Corey no longer wanted Ryan at his apartment, but in his absence, Ryan appealed to Sarah to let him stay, which led to Naira acting on her inner feelings and thoughts.
I filled in Naira on what he had told me, and that's when she went back to fleshing out her plan. I still didn't take her seriously, but I was starting to get worried because of how intricate it was getting. And then when she started gathering tools like trash bags, bleach, the handsaw from the shed, I realized she was serious. So I tried to talk her out of it, calmly at first, and then I started getting a little hysterical. And she told me that if I didn't help, that she was going to do it anyway, and that it was going to be a lot messier and a lot harder to get everything done by herself, and that Corey would probably come home before she was finished. So she said that she would just give me a small role to play, but she would do most of the heavy work.
Sarah had been blindly in love with Naira to follow along with her plan for Ryan's murder. She even helped clean up the mess when Naira was unable to do so.
So in the evening, we waited until Ryan went upstairs to use the bathroom, and then we both went into the office. She had a rag that she dipped in bleach, and she had a bottle of vinegar next to her to add to it when the time came, because I guess they had some kind of chemical reaction and released some kind of poisonous gas. I don't really know, but she did the research for it. So when Ryan came out, I was waiting in the doorway of the office, waited until he walked down the hall, and then I jumped on him from behind, put him in a headlock and pulled him down to the floor with my body weight so I could hold him while Naira came and straddled him, and then pressed the rag over his face. When he started making these guttural gasping noises, Naira let me get out from under him, and I curled up in the office and cried. I didn't want to look at her, him. I wish that I didn't have to do it, but it was done, and I was so scared and horrified, but there wasn't, I didn't stop. I didn't stop her. I didn't.
What was the problem then?
Yeah. So I stayed in the office. I didn't know that she had put duct tape over his face until the prosecutors or you, or I can't remember, somebody told me that when they examined the head that there was duct tape on it. So I didn't see her do that. I'm guessing she did it to make sure that he wouldn't breathe if he wasn't fully dead. And then she asked me to help her move him into the bathtub, but I wouldn't do it. I said I didn't want to see his face. I couldn't bring myself to look at him. The only thing I could see were his calves sticking out, and his skin had turned white, so I knew that he had died. So I stayed in the office for a while until she did get him in the bathtub, and she had put a trash bag over his head and severed it, and then put that into the freezer so that she could deal with it later. And she started using the handsaw to take off his hands and feet at the joint. And at that time, because I didn't have to see his face anymore, I came out to help, and she gave me his clothes, instructed me to put it in a trash bag while she worked. And after, I'm not sure how much time passed, it felt like maybe an hour, she started to get intestinal cramps. So she went to lie down and said I had to take over. So I put the hands in one bag, the hands and the feet she told me to put in a bag, and then she also put it in the freezer for later because she said those would be the two big identifying factors and she would have to deal with them separately. So I removed the forearms and the calves at the joints, and it was slow, exhausting work, and I did not work fast enough. Her original idea was to cut up everything into as small of manageable pieces as possible and then dispose of them that way, but we didn't have enough time to do that, so we just had the head, hands and feet, the forearms went in one bag, the calves went in another bag, and then we just had to deal with the torso. Around that time, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, I knew that it was starting to get light out. She came back to help and had this black Tupperware bin that she had kept some of her belongings in, emptied that out and brought it upstairs, and we put the torso in it, all of the pieces, and then bags that had the tools, rags, gloves, things like that, and threw those in there too. I waited while she cleaned the bathroom quickly. She said she would do a more thorough job later. And then we took the bin and put it in the back of Ryan's car.
Sarah and Naira dumped Ryan's body parts in a deserted place without putting in much effort to hide the remains. They had clearly not thought the plan through and just wanted to get over with their motive, killing Ryan. In the aftermath, Sarah divorces her husband Corey to marry Naira. When Ryan's remains were finally linked to him, The two women were later arrested and detained. Both Sarah and Naira were sentenced to life in prison for killing Ryan Zimmerman.